because my Wi-Fi's rubbish.
All right. Hello. We are live. We just went live a few seconds ago, so it may take a second for people to notice that I'm actually going to go on the Discord.
How's that? Is that better? That's better. I'm centered. I am centered.
You are centered. Yes. Good. And let's see. We are now live on Twitch and on YouTube. And let me All right. Yes. Hello. This is hey. It's Ross Payton. Well, yeah, we got 10 viewers already. Hey.
You forgot to say, hey,
it's Ross Payton. Well, it's not role-playing public radio, though. That's the whole thing. It's Ludonarrative Dissidents, which is a more.
You mean I've been listening to you to say that when I didn't actually have to?
No, on role-playing public radio, you do. And when I'm guesting on someone else's podcast, be like, oh, what's your show, Ross? Well, let me tell you. But this is we have a whole different thing for each of my mini shows. Ludonarrative Dissidents. I'm here with James Wallis and Greg Stolze. And we are here to talk about season 3, tabletop role-playing games in general, what we've been doing lately, and to answer your questions. So we are both live on Twitch and on YouTube. So if you have a question, just post a comment. We'll see it in either one, and we'll highlight and we'll talk about it. So feel free to ask away. But I think we'll start with sort of the general broad idea for season 3, which is to expand what kind of books we review, and each episode we focus on one book at a time, and kind of go from there. So we will still do core role-playing books. I think that's the first thing we should say. We do have a lot of ideas of which ones we'll get, and we'll list them more, or some of the ideas, some of the games we'll be talking about or thinking about reviewing later on. But there's a lot of other things other than core role-playing books. It turns out there's whole categories of hi Dimitri. There's adventures and campaigns.
Name.
Yeah. Well, we are not going to be doing campaigns because campaigns are very big, and doing a core role-playing book is hard enough as it is.
Reading a campaign for review, that's a young man's game.
That's one campaign is a season. Like that's how it works.
I mean, Masks of Nyarlathotep. I'm not sure I'm gonna live long enough to get through.
Oh, I feel like if we did 20 episodes on it, we could give it justice.
All right, yeah.
Like I'm actually doing a series on a campaign right now in Role Playing Public Radio on the Patreon, where we're going through a mega dungeon level by level, but just one level of mega dungeon is like an hour and a half of discussion. So so we are going to be doing like one-shot adventures, like modules, like 20 to 40 page books, and then supplements too, like city books, loot book, books about magic items or character classes or resources. There's those entire wide categories of books. So those are the 3 broad things we're going to be focusing on for season 3. We might do mechanics and themes like we did in season 2, but that would probably be a stretch goal and expansion. So that's not, but those are going to be the 3 foundations of season 3: core books, adventures.
Are there any mechanics we haven't covered already, Ross?
Let's see. We have a list. Remember, Greg, we did a whole Google sheet where we sort of talked about this: human role-playing games, character arcs, and role-playing.
I categorically refuse to remember anything, Ross. You should know this by now.
Wuxia, Hong Kong,
and it's late at night here as well. I can't, my mind's gone anyway.
The OSR and the NSR. Yeah, go ahead.
I just need to turn off my video at this point because my Wi-Fi is down. I'm hotspotting off my phone. I would rather keep my build to a minimum, so I'm going audio only. I apologize.
Right.
Only the people who showed up early got the glamour shots of James Wallis. This is why you never want to be fashionably late.
Yes,
get there.
James in his shed with his wife's bike in the background.
Well, I mean, I'm trapped in a labyrinth somewhere, so you have it over. At least you got that. So let's see here. We already have a bunch of comments already. That would be sweet. I've been thinking about running Masks and Trail of Cthulhu in the new year. Well, it's a great campaign. I've run it twice. In the old version, I've not run the 7th edition version, but it's a great campaign, and it works really well in Trail of Cthulhu. So good luck on that. And that's on RVPR. Let's see, we have some more hellos. Hello, Brian and Honest Ed. And yeah, here's why. I know some friends playing Mass for like 3 years. You see, this is why we can't like do it in one episode. It would be a little bit.
We are too promiscuous. We are still sowing our wild oats game in the gaming phase. We're in hoe phase when it comes to gaming. We are not ready to settle down with a nice Pendragon campaign.
Can someone on Twitch clip that for us?
Play Testament and leave them.
Yeah. Play Testament and leave them. Doing a bit. Well, hello. Glad to have you here.
They sleep well.
Are you talking about season 3? We are talking about season 3. Is it going to be a Kickstarter backer kit? It is going to be on Kickstarter, like season 2. I've sort of figured out I'm going to use backer kit for my own personal print projects and RPG projects, and I'll use my Kickstarter account for Ludonarrative Dissidents because it's worked so well in the past 2 seasons.
Cool.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And how many mechanics can there be? Yeah. Like 12. There's like 12 left. It's fine.
I'm working on a new game where the resolution is jacks. You throw the ball and you grab the jacks off.
Miss you already, James.
That's the name of the game. Grab the jacks off.
I was about to ask if it had a name, Greg.
Yeah.
It's the book about board game mechanics, which I'm blanking on, building blocks of tabletop game design. I think lists something like 380. That's an awful lot of board game mechanics anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure if we went granular enough, if we dug down into RPGs, we could find enough mechanics to keep us going for, well, at least till our kids are out of college.
into our twilight years.
Yeah. Trapped in a Labyrinth is Ross's natural setting. This is true. Live footage. This is just where I live. It's cheap rent. Don't knock it till you try it. Let's see here. Cool. When are we going to be able to sign up for the Kickstarter page, or come back in the first 5 minutes again? So we've been done with season 2 for a while, but we kind of talked over and decided that doing it over the holidays wouldn't make sense. January is kind of a slow month. So probably February or March, depending on it. It's kind of, we have enough stuff we could get it up without too much work. It's just a matter of like, when is the best time to get the Kickstarter up. So it's more and I kind of want to finish the Night Clerk zine, which I'll talk about in a little bit, sort of get that out the door, which are making progress. So we should probably talk about like what kind of books we are looking at. And I know in terms of adventures, one of the ones I really, and these are, again, all of these are going to be on lists that backers can vote. We may change the rewards a bit, so if you give us more money, you get more votes. So
to make it more reflective of how democracy operates in the United States.
Yeah, basically. So I know I want to put Jailbreak for Unknown Armies on the short list there. I think we have an in with the writer. What do you think, Greg?
That's a perennial favorite that has, I mean, I've never run a bad game of it, and it impresses me to look back on it now, because I'm like, I didn't know what I was doing. I just I seem to have fallen upstairs with that one and created something that's super tightly functional without fully understanding what was super tightly functional about it.
Yeah. It's one I've read multiple times, but I've not actually run, because it needs a lot of players, right? Like 6 or
it doesn't need 6 or 8 players. It's got the option to go up to, a whole dang party, which is not something I would do now. But you can run it with it. It just needs to have enough people in it to be unbalanced.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So James, what was one of the adventures you think that you have your eye on you'd really like to do?
I have the yellow clearance black Black Box Blues for Paranoia. It's a stone classic of humor in games. It's delightful. It was delightful when it came out in the mid-'80s. It's still delightful today. It's interesting that some of the elements of the humor have kind of changed in tone, because you live in a very different political climate now. The Soviet bloc, the commies, are no longer a threat. They're a joke.
Wait. So you're talking about doing this deep cut 20th century adventure. Not like a recent version of it or anything.
Well, it's been reissued. We can decide. We can look at all of them. Yeah, it's been reissued, I think, for every edition. Certainly, it was reissued for the last edition, the one that I did with Grant Howitt and Paul Dean. And yeah, it's fun. But I think looking at why it's fun and why it works and why it's remembered so fondly, why it became a classic would be really interesting. There aren't that many genuinely funny, consistently funny role-playing games adventures. And I think that one is absolutely on the top of the pile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Paranoia is one of my not entirely blind spots, but it's not a game I've spent as much time as I feel like I should. Like it is a great game. And what I have read of, I've always enjoyed it. It's just one of those like, oh yeah, I should play more of it, and then I never do.
My experiences with Paranoia have been exclusively at conventions with randos, and I'm not sure that's the best way to play it because it gets extremely mean and competitive, like from jump. I'm like, come on, people, engage with the fiction. Pretend that you don't know that this is competitive yet. So, but no, it got nasty quick, and I'm like,
I hear you. I don't think it's a good convention game at all. I think it needs to be players because that way there's a little bit of investment in, as you say, not immediately opening up on them.
Yeah, that's fair. I do know for episode 0, we are going to do, like we did previous seasons, an episode to kind of preview the upcoming season, and we're going to talk about Hole in the Sky, which is the Dungeon Crawl Classics module I ran as the season finale for season 2. And I think that'll be a lot of fun for Greg and James to read what it was supposed to be versus the version that they. There's a bit of Rashomon in every published RPG adventure. Like what it says in the book versus what actually happens at the table. So
if you assume a perfectly spherical player who is playing in good faith and isolates his player knowledge from his character knowledge, the game runs smooth as butter.
Yeah, and as one of our listeners on the Discord said, if you would just go under the door, as I have mentioned, everything would work out fine. But yeah, so but yeah, we were looking at we'll come up with a list about 10 or 20 books in each category, and then let people vote, and then the number of episodes will be based on what funding level we'll get, and we'll have stretch goals for additional episodes, of course. But we also are talking about supplements, and supplements are a little more vague, because there's so many types, right? We in fact, that in looking at our list of tentative titles, that's the smallest list we have right now. But we do have let's see, Chicago by Night from the World of Darkness. I put down Countdown for Delta Green, the original from the original version, and
a big lad.
Yeah, a big lad, and then the Book of Loot for 13th Age, or Double Tap for Night's Black Agents, and then there's just so many GURPS books. There are so many. I know I would like to talk about Countdown because that was a very influential book to me, because the description of the Haster mythos and how to run that style of horror, which was later called surreal horror in Impossible Landscapes, was very like, horror can be more than just blowing up monsters and having your skin ripped off by vampires, which is kind of what horror and role-playing games was to me before that. And it's like, it could be more subtle and insidious and not just like body horror and splatterpunk kind of stuff. And so I really loved it for that. Like Night Floors, I think, is a masterpiece of a scenario, because you can terrify players with like a goldfish, and you know, the Akera is a you find a little golden sculpture of a goldfish, and you know, you put it in a little evidence bag, and then later on you feel something moving in your pocket, and it's a live goldfish, and people just freak out at that. And I really like that encounter. Very subtle and very evil.
That's straight out of Chambers. So
James, what are some of the what kind of supplements are you, or if you can't think of specific titles, but like what are some supplement types you or even specific titles you would be interested in reviewing?
I think I particularly like city books or territory books that really capture the atmosphere of a place. That absolutely you have the flavor of it, you know what the people are like, you know what the community is like, and it lives and breathes from the information in the book. And it doesn't have to be encyclopedic and cohesive. And the two I'm thinking of in particular are City Book 1, which was published by Flying Buffalo under I think it's Blade imprint. Way back in the day in the 80s, and we tried to emulate some of the feel of that when we did Marienburg for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay in the late 90s. And I love that. I love that you read the terror and you just go, oh, this is a place I want to visit. I want to live within this space for a while. And you can feel that, you know, it's not necessarily packed with adventure seeds, but you can see exactly how narratives would form and evolve because everything is interlinked. We've got to pick up on something like a book of SPCs for Dreadnoughts when I was publishing that as well.
James, you are breaking up pretty hard. I hate to interrupt, but you sound like that robot off the 80s version of Buck Rogers.
All right.
So let's talk.
Yeah. Greg, same question?
Man, I don't know. There's a part of me that would like to dig like into old Unspeakable Oath issues, and it's like, okay, let's have a look at in media res. Let's look at early times. Other than that, James's idea of settings is good. The idea of, I mean, I've got a ton of stuff from assorted iterations of the World of Darkness, and it might be interesting to just pick one kind of at random and be like, okay, let's see what they were doing at this point with this line, with this spin-off. I mean, the history of the World of Darkness has become very fractal, right?
Oh yeah.
You've got the first edition and now the reissues of the first edition, and every line in the first edition branched out into sublines, each of which had their own branching supplements. So you can just really, it's not exactly like a fractal where you can keep zooming in and zooming in and zooming in and not lose detail, but you can keep zooming in. So that would be cool.
I think it's worth saying one of the things we're trying to do is focus on supplements or indeed rule books that are still available so that you can get hold of them and see what we're talking about. I mean, I would love to do an episode on the original Ghostbusters role-playing game, which I still regard possibly the finest game ever published. It is completely unavailable. It would be an entirely hypothetical discussion for 98% of you who've never even seen this thing. And that just
I'm in that 98%, man.
Yeah, I was very lucky to find a copy of Continuum, so we could do an episode on it. No, that's true. We're gonna focus on things that are available. They're either still in print or you can at least get the PDF. Which, fortunately for art role-playing games, it seems to be they're far more for niche books. Far more old RPGs available in PDFs than like books in other categories, but there's still a ton of stuff that's unavailable because of licensing issues and publishers going out of business and that kind of thing.
I mean, and this would be the argument for, look at something that wasn't. This is going to shock some of you, but there are products out there that are not licensed. They're just wild, roaming free, produced by lone people in garrets who are obsessed and are like, I want to make a game about X, and you can't stop me, Dad. And we can look at some of those. And we've got the question about small unknown games you'd love to have an episode about. Yes. I always come back to Penny for my thoughts, which maybe it was just that I was in a very vulnerable or susceptible frame of mind when I played it at Gen Con with its creator, but it has always seemed a really good, slick, improv scenery chewing game for me. Which and it has the sort of Delta Green version of it, or the Call of Cthulhu version of it, or the X-Files version of it, all just built right in. And so, yeah, I'd love to talk about that for some minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of the people listening to this call have heard of Penny for My Thoughts. So,
is it still available?
I don't know. I'd have to check. I can't think why you would take that PDF down.
Yeah, sometime. Yeah, well, hopefully they keep it up there, but you never know.
You do not ever know.
You do not ever. Yeah. There. For me, I know there's a lot of games. Like, there's a ton of interesting games being made right now that are worth talking about. Like, just recently, this year and last year I played Fist, which is a really fun game. And it's coming out in a new edition. I wouldn't call it unknown though at this point.
Because you've been pushing it so hard.
I have been pushing it.
It's got the Ross Payton heat on it.
Yeah, I just think it's neat. In terms of looking at the games that I have played and would like to talk about more. A few come by. One is called Itris By, which is a game of surrealism, and it's very fun. It's diceless, and it's just. I ran it sort of modified. Instead of using the default setting, I set it in the setting of Night Vale, which is a surreal comedy horror podcast, and it fit very, very well. And
the character who the player who takes the Glow Cloud character class is going to be OP though.
Yeah. And probably I think I would like to do an episode on I'd like to do one on just like one-page games and like very experimental games. Like I remember I played a game called When You're Here, Your Family, which is a storytelling game you have to play at an Olive Garden. And like the turns are based on when the waiter brings you various like breadsticks and things like that. So like the phases of the game are based on when you get the portions of the meal. I'm sorry
to say I would not be able to play test them.
Yeah.
They don't exist over here.
Yeah, that's true. You'd have to visit America. But I really maybe just
someday you'll make it to a real country, James.
Yeah. Games that really push the form. Like I can't remember the name of it, but I remember finding a one-page game on Itch or something that was like, you're a satellite, describe your journey through eternity, and then burn this sheet where you wrote all that down at the end as your satellite falls apart, like you're and so games like that would be mine.
I think journaling and epistolatory games, there's probably an episode we could do on that. That's such a fascinating
springing
subject.
off of our work already on 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. And what's the one you published it, James? It was Polish.
De Profundis.
De Profundis. Yeah. Did we we did a whole episode on that, right?
No, we did not.
No, we just keep talking about it because it's so cool.
Well, there we go. Yeah, that could be another episode. Yeah. We will keep the reward that you to curate an episode if you want to make us review something. So
the curated ones, okay.
Have all been great. Like, yeah.
Let me get meta here for a second. Yeah. So, all right. In gaming, a lot of the best gaming moments emerge when the dice just freak out on you, right? It's like, oh, yes, I'm the dice, and I've decided that every time the omnipotent overlord tries to give an order to this underling, he's going to muff the roll, and that underling is going to misunderstand. And, this is the sort of thing that can completely organically emerge. The GM would not have had this idea on their own, but once the pattern's established, they're like, oh, this is hilarious. The overlord clearly trusts this one incompetent guy way past his abilities. And so this is sort of what the curated episodes are like for us. It's like, hey, look at this game that otherwise you never would have picked out. Because I'd never even heard of what was the Schlock Mercenary.
Oh yeah,
I'd never heard of that. Never heard of Water Margin, but
definitely not. Yeah,
when you take us out of the comfort zones defined by just the narrowness of the blinkers we're not even aware that we have on, because we are limited exclusively to our own experiences. Once you take us into something we haven't experienced, you're gonna get an interesting result.
Yeah. But for those of you in the audience right now, special insider tip: make Greg review D&D books. That'll be the best experience.
Can I be real with you for a second?
Sure,
Ross? Let me speak from the heart. I feel like we should be the one podcast that doesn't do the one gaming podcast that doesn't do D&D. You can still find other types of podcasts that don't do D&D sometimes. I don't think Podcastle has done a D&D episode yet. But I recognize that it is a dominant market force and has more cultural juice than any other role-playing game ever has. But I believe, small as it is, our industry is large enough to have at least one podcast that doesn't cater to Hasbro.
I mean, yeah, no, the thing that interests me about D&D for me are certain modules that were like the first of a certain type, or like sort of established the genre conventions. I know, James, you love Tomb of Horrors.
I am fascinated by Tomb of Horrors. I'm not sure I love it, but I'm fascinated.
Whoa. Let's not use the L word. Tomb of Horrors. James and Tomb of Horrors are just good friends.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. With benefits, perhaps.
The benefit being when you're tired of someone else's character, you just feed it in there.
Yeah.
It is the dungeon where there is the dark hole, the inviting hole, about halfway down the first corridor, and the DM will try and entice you to stick something in there, and it's basically there's a sphere of annihilation in there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and
yes.
Oh.
See, to me, James, sometimes a dark inviting hole is just a dark inviting hole. It doesn't have to have a subtext.
But that's the thing. It's the early days of the hobby. It's the early days of D&D. What does it say about people? The dungeon that's just designed to kill people. Which a dungeon would be. Somebody's tomb. Look at the tombs of the pharaohs. They were designed. You can't get in. That's the point.
Yeah,
you get into a real life Tomb of the Pharaoh, and there's no riddle to solve. It's just fall down this hole and die screaming about your broken legs, please, thanking you in advance.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not going to start in on Tomb of Horrors now, but I do think I think it's a really interesting piece of design. I think its legacy is really interesting, and I do still have a plan to introduce speedrunning live D&D events, because I'm pretty sure you can complete Tomb of Horrors with a trained team and who have rehearsed it in under 20 minutes.
Well, all right, so here's a question. The question this raises in my mind, and I'll preface this by placing it into context, in that I was listening to the Midnight Pals podcast today, specifically one of the Clive Barker episodes, the Nightbreed one. And so I'm like, what if you did a D&D dungeon where it's just like, we are just, every single part of this is gonna have gay subtext, and not just a little sprinkling of it either, just big dashes of gay subtext. And there's a part of me that's like, if that had come out in 1986, how would the hobby be different? Would it be larger, but it's but a completely different demographic of suspiciously worked out twinks playing Dungeons and Dragons? I just don't know.
No, it's a fair
I've stunned Ross.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is my position.
Alternate history.
Podcast.
Yeah.
An alternate history where second edition AD&D was very
was
different.
just like super queer, man.
Yeah,
Where
you know
it
those
took the place that Frankie Goes to Hollywood albums did.
Frankie Goes
like-
to Greyhawk.
Yeah, well, there's alternate history, like novels, especially like military history, like Harry Turtledove stuff. Like, what if aliens invaded during World War II? Like, let's just do that, but for D&D, and just like make it really gay. Just like, yeah, well, here's what. Just write a whole novel about it. Yeah.
Oh, now I want to. God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, new stretch goal. Like, Greg will write an entire novel with this premise.
let's not write checks that my body can't cash.
We'll get a go. No, if we get enough money, we'll hire a ghostwriter. It'll be fine. Like Tom Clancy, you'll be a brand there.
Tom Clancy's KD&D alternate history.
There's
Coming
probably.
this-
I mean, if we get it up, like there's a
spring.
market demand for it. I mean, that's it.
Clancy
like,
would do so much research.
Oh yeah, no, it would be meticulous.
Well, here's how, the thing to understand is that this was the point at which nitrous oxide was really becoming a part of the club scene.
Oh, yeah, like I mean, so moving on. There's only so many.
Someone please ask a question.
Yeah. Well, no, we haven't even talked about core books that we. So aside from adventures and supplements, we are obviously going to we are definitely going to keep reviewing core books. Now, I know for me, I want to get some of the industry staples or legends, or just they've been around a while that we haven't gotten to yet. Like I would love to review Shadowrun, Cyberpunk Red, the newest edition, or Earthdawn. Earthdawn's one of these games that I know about. I've heard about for
great
years.
Things about Earthdawn.
Exactly. I've not read it though, so I would love
recommended it to my son without doing more than skimming it. But okay, so in that vein, I've never read Tribe 8, and I feel bad about that. I don't know if mine is first edition. Probably though. I'm thinking back on the time.
Tribe 8. Will there be nitrous oxide included in the Ludonarrative Season 3 stretch goals? I'm sure that's what I heard. You're right. Definitely. You got it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna do a whole episode on while we're huffing poppers. We can't promise that. But
Plan that.
Oh, chat. Should do wear these often. Tom Clancy's KD alternate history Rainbow G6. That's actually really good.
That's it's Gareth, of course.
Good job, Gareth. I'm gonna star that comment.
He's gonna come in here and just colonize us.
Yeah. Oh darn. But yeah, James, any core books you're looking forward to putting on the list? Hopefully we get
I think there's someone actually in the comments mentioned Ryutama. I think we could do a really, I'm not sure it's an episode itself, but a double header perhaps with Golden Sky stories.
Yeah.
Which I mentioned, I can't remember which episode I mentioned and described it in, but those kind of games about littler stories, about smaller stories, I think
I'd read the hell out
really
of both
interesting.
of those.
Plus, the whole Japanese influence, the Japanese scene, which admittedly we as Westerners are appallingly badly equipped to talk about. But there's a thing called research, and I've done it a couple of times. I don't like it, but I'll have to do it if I have to.
I'm on camera, actually.
So that's one. Feng Shui.
Just put it in.
I think
Oh,
it's
Feng Shui would be
smashing.
great. Yeah.
Marvelous design.
I
Just
mean,
gorgeous.
yeah, that's one that I got in on early and can talk I can be the James of that episode, talking about the inside baseball and the chainsaw incidents and everything. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually been a number of Japanese tabletop RPGs that have been in the last year and a half have been translated in English. So looking into that, I want to I can't think of some off the top of my head. There's one, I forgot what it's called, but it's a really fascinating thing about you draw diagrams on a page to cast spells. There's literally a whole separate game about it, or it's fascinating. I haven't wrapped my brain around it, but yeah.
All right. That. I'm game. I'm down. For me, it might be games based on horror podcasts, which seems to be Monty Cook's new direction. You've got Old Gods of Appalachia, which in a way, this was how this podcast got started, was me and James talking about, I'd work with James on doing an Old Gods of Appalachia podcast or role-playing game. I'd do a really good job of it. And then they're like, well, we really want someone who's from Appalachia to write the role-playing game and to really fit. And so I don't know if Monty Cook is actually from there. I'm not sure.
I don't think he's writing. I mean, he's publishing it, but it's a team of people.
All right.
Yeah.
All from the hollers, I'm sure, then. So, yeah, there's that. There's a Magnus Archive one coming out.
Yes, I back that. I'm looking forward to that.
Of course you back that.
Yeah.
They're role players. They're, well, of course.
My partner, they work as one of the Twitch moderators for Johnny Sims Twitch stream. So, yeah. And also we're both fans of the podcast. So, yeah.
I still got to get Johnny's... What was his book? 13 Stories, I think. His fiction. So. I ordered it and it never came in at the bookstore or some shit. So I still gotta. The odds of me getting a bookstore gift card at Christmas are pretty good. So I'll put that on the list beneath your book, James, which I asked for my birthday. Nobody got it for me for my birthday.
Oh, disappointing. I had an extraordinary thing this year. It can happen. For my birthday, I asked for a copy of the board game Kites, and they gave me a copy of the board game Kites. And this is almost unprecedented for me. So there's something in the water, I think, giving you the games on the game-related stuff that people ask for.
Yeah, I also asked for Gareth's last 2 books because I somehow missed both of them. And so, yeah, Gareth Hanrahan's novels we'll see if those are under the tree. And if not, I will have to run them down myself, like Darth Vader in Star Wars. I'll take them myself.
All right. So I found the, let me just cut away to show you the PDF. By the way, first off, hey, we have a web little store where you can buy our stuff, our t-shirts. So if you want to wear great t-shirts here, see, look. Oh no, the void is eating my t-shirt. But anyways, we'll
yes, I designed many of these.
Yes, and we can just there we go. But I want to show you. So the Japanese RPG I was talking about, I remember the name. It was Floria the Verdant Way. And it is very gorgeous, but look at this. The main characters gain magical powers by cultivating the herbs and ley lines growing in their body. Using the ley vine canvas, they can show how much their herbs have grown. During the course of the game, we'll draw diagrams on the canvas and fill in shapes formed by the vines to cast spells. So this is an absolutely wild mechanical system for an RPG, and I've never seen it before or elsewhere.
Well, my aging face is in the way of the Levine canvas second one.
Oh yeah. So let me here. I could just there we go.
There. Ooh. Okay. All right.
Wow. And the complex spells, you find you've drawn the time cube.
So yeah, I've not actually run this, but
I mean, this feels like something where it could absolutely explode on the launch pad.
Yeah, no, 100%. But like, holy shit, I admire the ambition of this on a game design.
I mean, we didn't get to the moon without blowing some shit up on the launch pad. This is a neat idea.
Yeah. So this is the kind of thing I would. This
Did
is
I just dropped the word onto Twitch. Sorry,
I didn't pay attention. So I've seen. I've seen James in a Ludonarrative shirt in real life. Public outreach in the main streets of London. Good job there, James. So are there any other RPGs that you would like to put on the short list that we haven't talked about yet?
I've got a couple. I've got Trophy, which I've yet to see, but I hear amazing things about. Someone was mentioning the Grant Howitt games. I think, absolutely. Spire is on our long list. Heart probably should be, but I think Spire is the core game, and we should probably be looked at first. What else is that? Rift. We should probably look at Rift.
I remember. Okay, can I slip into nostalgia mode for a minute? Is that back in the day, back in the 20th century, long ago in the 20th century, there were print magazines based on gaming, and I was a reviewer for one, and I got a bunch of Rifts books that I reviewed, and even back then, people talk trash about Rifts, but I'm like, man, there's some cool stuff in here. The cover looks good. What do you want for your $14?
Rifts is the kitchen sink of adolescent power fantasies. It's great.
Yeah.
And it is I'm actually running a Rifts campaign, but there is a new version of it in the Savage World system, which is an actual playable. Savage Worlds is a perfectly fine system. Like, the problem with Rifts, the original Rifts, is that it's in the Palladium system, which was developed in like 1980 and it has never been updated, or at least it is very much a house ruled version.
It has been updated. They added mega damage.
Oh, you're right.
Does it count if someone born after that update can legally drink in the US now?
Yeah,
because that was I remember mega damage from when my hair was black.
Let's see here. Has Brindlewood Bay been done? It is not
done Brindlewood Bay.
I would like to run it. I'm actually I'm thinking about public access, which uses the same system. But sorry, James.
I've just put it on the list. So yes, it should have been on the list. It's on the list now.
Brindlewood Bay or Rifts?
Brindlewood Bay. Rifts was already there.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a question: is Torg still available?
They kickstarted a new version a couple years ago. I'd say a couple that might be like 6 years ago. But
I remember when I was in high school, when I was this drippy-nosed virgin in high school visiting my brother at college, and someone had a copy of Torg, and I'm like, what's this? And they're like, oh, it's a game like D&D, but but not like D&D. And I started reading, I'm like, this sounds amazing. So yeah, we could do Torg.
Yeah, it looks like it was kickstarted. It looks like it was successfully kickstarted. So let's see your updates.
It's one of those games that time has forgotten. I mean, we did an episode on card-based games and we entirely forgot that Torg existed.
Yeah.
We did not mention Torg once in it. And yet Torg was kind of the first game to have something like a drama deck in it. In fact, I think they called it a drama deck. And we just forgot because Torg has no footprint anymore. Nobody was particularly influenced by it. Yeah,
that is
weird. It's very weird, and yet, it was full of great ideas.
$50.
$50. Yeah.
All right, cheap. All right.
Yeah. So it's a new version has been out there. It is a game that existed, and I've never played it. I saw used copies in the used game section, and that was about it. So. Let's see here.
But I mean, the impression I got was that Torg was a kitchen sink setup that was much more self-aware of itself as a kitchen sink setup.
Yeah. I mean, it like Rifts makes no, it's just, yeah, there's stuff happening, whatever, and there's cool things, and there's no attempt at real coherency between them. Torg, I from my understanding, tried to like, well, this part over here would have this kind of effect on the rest of the system, or like they try to make it more coherent, or like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about Torg.
Whereas Rifts is like, cohesion is the enemy. It must be destroyed by any means necessary.
Yeah. So yeah, Torg is yeah, again, it's just a game that I just passed me by, and I never really tried, so I didn't really think about it. So
a tragic swing and a miss for the game industry.
Yeah,
I hate to point out we've been talking 45 minutes. Should we talk about other stuff?
Yeah, we could.
Questions from.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We'll have, we got questions from the fans.
Yeah, James. You actually got to see what was it on stage recently?
Stranger Things the musical.
The First Shadow. It's not a musical, but it is a full stage prequel, official, done with the Duffer Brothers, directed by Stephen Daldry, who was the guy behind Billy Elliot. He has serious chops. Saw it last night. It's the first week it's been open. It's really interesting. The stagecraft is jaw-dropping. It's probably the most spectacular thing I've ever seen on stage. It's full of lore, obviously. The actors do really their best work with a script that is frankly mediocre. The story lurches from thing to thing, but I mean, certain bits of it really stand out. The kid playing Henry Creel is astonishing. The actress who's playing Joyce, the Winona Ryder role, if we, as gentlemen of a certain age, didn't know that Winona went to high school with Christian Slater and then got haunted by Michael Keaton, I would swear that this was the younger Winona Ryder. It's uncanny. She's just got Winona Ryder as kind of an 18-year-old. Amazing piece of work. If you're into Stranger Things, I would recommend it. If you can get a ticket, it appears to have sold out absolutely solidly. Do not go in.
Yes, that's a thing that's going to happen.
It's a spectacular.
Deloitte living in ass is seeing the Stranger Things musical in London.
You'll get over here eventually.
Yeah.
From your mouth to God's ear, James.
We'll go together, Greg. We'll be buddies. It'll be a road trip. Slash plane trip. Yeah.
What?
It'll be like a road trip movie. Yeah. Like
a tragic but quintessentially Greg and Ross way to die, drowning on an attempted road trip to visit James.
I was thinking of, what are those Bob Hope movies called? Weren't they called road trips?
The road movies.
Yeah, the road movies. Yeah, like that.
Everybody in the Deadpool who's like, man, I had so much money on Greg spilling red wine on an electric blanket.
So I have been working on a tabletop thing. A couple months ago, The Night Clerk, which is a system agnostic scenario of architectural horror about a hotel that you go and check into and you don't check out. It turns into an infinite labyrinth. And so I sent out
cover on that.
Matt Niemans, who does good work.
Yeah, that's nice.
Let's see here. I think it's yeah. I'll double check and make sure I got. I know his first name is yeah. Here is his review. But I sent out a draft to backers. This is the artist for the cover. And
I backed that, didn't I?
There are a couple hundred, Greg. I don't remember. You should have gotten an update from Backer Kid if you did back it. That the PDF, draft PDF has been sent out.
Well, if I backed it at the tangible level. So I'm not even going to spoil myself by looking at the PDF. I'm going to wait till I
just
have
looking
it
at those columns.
Yeah.
Oh, those. Oh no, I know. I'll send you some notes.
Okay. I'll send you guys the PDF. They're mathematically balanced. They're just
it's
fine.
It's also if you're deliberately not balancing the columns, that's fine. That's a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
It's the people who just don't know better.
Yeah.
Who think that that's balanced. Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay. Because I hired Simeon Cogswell to create the template for this, and then I just used their work for it. So I still need a couple of pieces of art, and he takes photos of a few things. But yeah, it's this should be out early next year. This is originally going to be a full tabletop RPG called Ruin, but then I couldn't figure out a interesting mechanical system for it. So I just made it into a scenario, or sort of.
And you didn't even ask your boy Greg or James.
Yeah. I was going to say, who do you do this podcast with, Ross? Really?
Well, I started working on this like back in 2014, and I had a lot of like the system. I wanted a lot of. It was very ambitious. Like I wanted to. Like one of the ideas was like you make your character as play begins, like in a video game where you just start play and fill in your skill and attributes as you play. And then I wanted
that could be super fun,
like an interesting crafting system that wasn't just get ingredients and make a skill check. And there was it was a very I had a lot of ambitions, and then I just like couldn't everything I tried didn't work out. So I just like fuck it. I have a lot of art. I have ideas for the story at least, so let's just do that, and then I can move on with my life. So
give me back my life, Night Clerk. Give me back my life.
Did do a find, and I did search the entire thing for the word will and removed every instance of it. So there's so
You're
one of you now have an NPC called I Am.
Yeah. So that's what I've been working on, and so that'll it's been sent to backers. Give them a month to look for typos and get back to me, and then I'll send it to printers and sometime in January. And Greg, what have you?
Well, okay. I mean, I've been grinding out fiction for the Patreon. A lot of sort of near future social science fiction, where it's like, yeah, there's nothing technically in these stories that we haven't achieved, but they ask questions like, if you read After the Cops, I've been doing stuff sort of in that setting. The most recent one is, what's the future of incarceration going to look like if we really radically redo the way we think about prisons? So Penitentiary Pool Boy was last month's Patreon support. Other fiction projects, I'm going zine and doing, if you look closely, hand-drawn zine covers, or hand-printed or hand-painted, depending on.
Sure, you can put that back up on there and can make the screen a little better.
So yeah, this fantasy novella I wrote ages ago and have been trying to get out. It's sweet and heartwarming, damn it. So that'll probably be my next thing, sweet and heartwarming. The games I'm working on, one is Dying Breath, which is written that's Ninky, baby. That's it. This is the zine. I've printed them out. You will be able to get it as a PDF or as something that I handmade the cover. Woo!
Your heart will be warmed forever.
Feel it. So gaming wise, I've got Dying Breath, which is my 1920s horror game, because we need another one after Call of Cthulhu, right? But this is it's my goal with Dying Breath was to give you the experience you had playing Call of Cthulhu when you didn't know anything about the mythos. Where part of it is finding out how things really work without reading about them in the game, but discovering through play that, the cosmos is like that. So that's one that is written along with a giant campaign, spanning 5 years from 1920 to 1925. Another that I've completely written and got set up is called Gates of Ivory, Gates of Horn, which is a tarot-based game
Ooh.
about you are either a dream or a nightmare, and you are going to enter the minds of people in the 20th century. And if you are a nightmare, your goal, your identity is, I'm going to enter the mind of someone who has gotten away with a crime, who has done something wrong and not been punished in the waking world, but I will torment them in the one place they cannot escape justice. And if you're playing as a dream, your goal is, I am going to fix someone who is mentally damaged and broken. I can go in there into the realm of their mind and save them from self-destruction. So it's heavily inspired by Sandman comics.
Okay, yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
But it's its own thing, and set up as basically, let's dungeon crawl for human souls. Let us either save or destroy as we see fit.
Have you played the video game Psychonauts or Psychonauts 2?
I haven't, but I've heard of it.
So Psychonauts is a platforming game, but like with Metroidvania elements, but basically you're a psychic. You go to psychic summer camp as a kid, and you learn how to enter into people's minds, and so each mind is like a dungeon.
I'm sorry,
or a level.
I gotta think about psychic summer camp for a minute. No, you're not just making this lanyard, you are being this lanyard.
No, that's exactly the vibe. And every level, when you beat the boss and solve this you help them. You're basically like a psychic therapist, but by punching the psychic monsters in their head. And they're both very good games.
Making this person feel unjustly guilty.
That's literally it. That's literally it.
Okay.
Yeah.
This sounds a little like that, only more florid.
Yeah. It's very much Tim Burton's kids adventure movie kind of vibe. Yeah. So you played it too, James?
I played the first one. It didn't grab me as much as it grabbed a lot of my peers, but I could when it worked really well.
Yeah. I loved it. I loved the first one.
That is such a double-edged piece of praise.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But I have to. By the end, I was going through it with a walkthrough, going, I need to finish this so I can go and play something else.
All right, that's
wasn't going to abandon it. Did need to.
Yeah,
felt I needed to see the ending, but just needed to see it now.
Just unprepared nothing. I think I recently saw Godzilla -1, and that's my movie of the year. And I think it's the best Godzilla movie ever made. I think it's better.
I haven't even heard of this. I am so out of touch.
God.
What is Godzilla -? Put it
reboot,
up on the screen.
Yeah.
Shared screen.
Have you seen Shin Godzilla though?
Yes,
Shin Godzilla is so
better.
good.
Yeah, this is better than Shin Godzilla.
You think this is better than Shin Godzilla? That's
No, I mean Shin Godzilla is a masterpiece too, but this one is even better. So, oh my god, all right,
stop.
Yeah,
all right.
So,
who love that logo?
Yeah, it's
that poster design is so good.
Yeah. So
you like those balanced columns, James? Are those columns balanced enough for you, James?
Yeah, I'm not gonna play the trailer, but I'll just show you some of the artwork or some of the screenshots from it. Godzilla is very he's not a nice Godzilla in this one. He is very he really hates Tokyo, and it's a movie where you care about
so high.
Yeah, the humans you care about them, that's the typical kaiju Godzilla movie thing, is that the human characters are kind of like, who cares about them, let's watch the giant monsters fighting. But this one, it's about the failure of it's a takes place in the immediate aftermath of World War II, and it takes place in 1945, 1947, and the main character is dealing with the ethos of Imperial Japan's failures, and it deals a lot with trauma and survivor's guilt. And
is this Godzilla Does Grave of the Fireflies? Because if it's Godzilla Does Grave of the Fireflies, you have to tell me, Ross.
It was pretty intense for me emotionally. It was the main character is in such anguish over being I'll just say this, this is establishing the opening movements of the movie. He's a kamikaze pilot who chickens out, and he goes to land at a remote island base, pretending his plane is damaged or can't fly, and and people are just like, we lost because you failed, like that is like the level of like
Oh man,
just emotional suffering this guy goes through. And then Godzilla shows, and that's before Godzilla shows up. So
the worst Godzilla is the Godzilla in my heart.
Yeah, but also the Godzilla right there is killing a lot of people, and he's really angry.
However, the Godzilla right in fucking front of me. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, YouTube. The Godzilla right in front of me is also very bad.
Yeah.
So good, just a metaphor for nuclear war. I'm
but also still a metaphor.
Still a metaphor. The thing I'm really looking forward to, which hasn't opened here yet, but I have tickets booked for Boxing Day, is The Boy and the Heron, Miyazaki's.
Oh yeah,
probably Miyazaki's last movie. It's new Miyazaki. I'm good enough. The reviews are ecstatic. It is apparently very much about grief. I have booked tickets for the whole family. My father-in-law died about 2 months ago, and either we're just going to come out fine, having loved the movie, or just in an inconsolable blubbering heap of the end.
This feels like betting double or nothing on catharsis.
Yeah, I'm prepared to take that bet. It's Miyazaki.
Yeah, I do want to see that. I have heard it is a pretty intense movie as well, and beautiful too. I heard it was the most abstract of the Miyazaki films, so I'm intrigued.
I'm avoiding reviews deliberately.
Yeah, that's fair. If you get a chance to see Godzilla -1 or Boy and the Heron, see that. Any cinematic standouts for you this year, Greg, or anything you're looking forward to?
I'm sorry, I'm still freaked out over COVID, and so I only go to movies when I know it's going to be completely abandoned. But the movie I saw this year that kind of blew me away was Barbie.
Oh, I need to watch that. I've heard good things.
This is not a spoiler. I mean, if you take it as a spoiler, interrogate yourself. But it starts with, Barbie being stereotypical Barbie in Barbie Land, and everything's great and everything's fun, and she's looking forward to this party tonight with her friends, and everything's just relentlessly upbeat, and it turns into this giant, elaborate dance number. And right at the end of the dance number, as they've all finished, she's like, "Do you ever think about death?" And that's
where it starts.
Yeah. It elevates its source material a great deal. So I liked it a lot.
Anyone? This is going to sound a little random. Did anyone ever see Barbie Life in the Dream House, which was on Netflix for a long time? It's an animated, it's like a half-hour or 20-minute kids series, but it's essentially kind of Real Housewives of LA with Barbie and her friends, who are all aware they're dolls, and it's for kids, but there are moments where the humor just goes, okay, you've really put some thought into this. This is genuinely very funny.
This sounds like something that I would hammer a nail through my own hand rather than choose to watch.
I have daughters.
I don't know, James.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
It's actually good.
It's good in parts. If it's
there are a lot
of one of those Sunday
Greg backs
afternoons.
James into the corner. James puts his hands up and says, "Whoa! It's not like that."
Yeah.
I'm not saying go and watch it, but you know, if you are Barbie curious, I think it may well have had an influence on the movie. I suspect, seeing what, and my God, there's a lot of Barbie shit out there. Some of the Barbie CG movies are unbelievably bad. They lots of questions from Greta Gerwig, who wrote and directed the movie, about how did Mattel let this thing get made. Well, looking at some of the shit some of the schlock they've had put out for Barbie before this, anything that smacks of quality is good. But this one is genuinely I find myself laughing out loud in places. The
Mhm.
characters are surprisingly endearing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
if,
all
if
right.
you're Barbie curious.
And you can drag this back to gaming.
Mhm.
The impression, my suspicion with the Barbie IP, I have no inside knowledge or particular insight, but this is my suspicion, is that there is a pretty minimum buy-in where if you have been tasked with writing something for the Barbie IP, there's going to be just this baseline floor of people who will watch anything Barbie. There is a demographic where it's like, if it's got the B word on it, click, yeah. I will park my kid in front of this while I go make dinner. And that is sort of this is the free parking space in the game of creating in the Barbie IP. So that if you are a lazy creator, you could just phone it in completely, do something so mediocre that it looks like the best thing a chat GPT could do. And, you could get by, and enough people would watch it that it would make its nut. But that there are people who are like, no, I know in my heart, Barbie can be more. Barbie can be meaningful. Barbie can convey something about the human experience. And that's what the big Gina Gershon, have I got the name right?
Believe
Yeah.
so. Oh, yeah. Greta,
Yeah.
I think.
Greta Gershon. Yeah, I knew I was going to do something wrong.
Sorry, it's late here.
But she's like, this is a train that has enough cultural horsepower that it can pull more freight than it has ever been asked to. And she's like, I'm going to cut this thing. I'm going to open up the throttle on this thing and see just how far it can go. And this is not unlike something that happens in gaming if you are working for one of the big IPs. There was, when I was working on the World of Darkness, I'm like, I could phone this in, and if I hit a tough spot, I can turn in some mediocre work in the middle of this book, and no one will complain. But because I liked the IP and because I felt like I had stuff to say within it, and because, I just kind of got the bit between my teeth and caught up in my own momentum. And I'm like, these characters I created are really interesting in their own way. And I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And I just ran off with it. I feel like a lot of people who worked on the World of Darkness did more than they had to because of a love of the IP. And so this is something, it's a weird parallel because one is all pink and cheerful and one is all dark and morbid.
Mm-hmm.
But the same idea is at play, is that there is this uneasy alliance between the commerce and the artistic impulse, where the commerce is like, well, anything that says Barbie will do this minimum level of okay. And then the artist comes in and says, oh, I will take that minimum level of okay, but instead of making it more profitable, I'm going to make it more meaningful.
Mm.
Yeah. I feel the same way about my Sonic the Hedgehog books.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, James, you'll know this. I never got into Sonic.
Well,
How does it become so sexualized? Because it seems like it's
really. I've asked the people who do Sonic podcasts, and they just look blankly with that blank, slightly traumatized stare.
Look, that's just any cartoon animal. Like that was Disney animators are doing that back in the 30s, like on their own time. Like that's.
I mean,
how
we've all seen Robin Hood, Ross.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So, asking the big questions here.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, they're
yeah,
coming.
I don't know.
Here
I
they
will
come.
Yeah, sorry.
But one of the things I've been doing is trying to come up with reply to a fan, because these are books I wrote 30 years ago, almost exactly 30 years ago. I am still getting not just letters about them. I am specifically getting letters about the physics in Sonic in the Fourth Dimension, asking me to explain exactly how the transdimensional physics work. And I'm not sure if it's one guy under a bunch of pseudonyms, or if there's a community of these freaks who I just grabbed a bunch of buzzwords and chucked them down on a page. I was being paid not very much. We had to write 4 books.
They have
in 4
important
months.
arguments to settle. All right,
They do.
They need an authority figure.
Are these macro or micro dimensions? They want to know.
James,
How does this relate to Rudy Rucker's interpretation of infinity? Yeah, this is my life. No good deed goes unpunished. You write some Sonic the Hedgehog novels trying to do a good job, and 30 years later, people want you to
you
go
just
into detail.
And they're all here tonight. Yeah.
they're all perched around their screens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I'll discover that Christian Bickley is one of them.
Oh no.
What you need to do, James,
No,
is just
no.
you just need to steer into that skid and say, "Oh, I don't remember writing any of that material. It was as if I stepped aside and something entered my body, like a new animating force, and wrote through me."
Yes.
There you go. And you'll be one step closer to founding your own religion.
I have thought, as I'm sure many RPG designers have, I have thought many times about founding my own religion, because I'm pretty sure that's the thing. Any religion we came up with would be more interesting and involved and coherent. But the whole point is they shouldn't be interesting and coherent. They should appeal to idiots, not interesting people. Not the sort of people who read good science fiction. You want stuff that will appeal to credulous goons with money.
Look,
Just very briefly, someone asked if I used to read Sonic the Comic. Yes, I did. I never wrote for it. I knew some of the people who did. I have appeared a couple of times on Sonic the Comic, the podcast as well.
Yeah, Sonic Lore. That's an entire podcast series.
God,
That's multiple seasons. That is.
Do not make me look at it directly.
I have just skated the sides of it, and I've seen such things. Like it goes on and on and on. There's so many continuities. There's the lawsuits between Archie Comics and one of the writers. So the writer got copyright on some of his characters. Like he made his own. It's a whole. There's just layers. We'll be here all night if we go into this.
That's and the thing about founding your own religion, James, I'm like, see, to me, I see that as a balance between how hard could it be and how wrong would it be?
Yeah.
It's like
I'm just
oof.
I mean, the main thing for me is this is not actually something I want to spend any part of my life actually having to do. In particular, having to deal with the kind of people who would believe a religion I came up with. Don't want to mix with those people. No, I'll keep writing the RPGs.
It's like not wanting to belong to a club that would admit you as a member, but much more morally upright.
Yeah, a club that would admit me as a guru.
Would I want followers who would accept me as a leader?
Yeah.
Well, we're already 13 minutes over on what we were going to have as an hour-long thing. So I don't know how late it is for you, James, if you want to keep going or not. But we are over time. So
we should wrap up. Are there any great questions in the queue?
Well, yeah, I did put in the comments a link to join our Discord. We talk about this, and we'll have news and updates, and you can ask us questions there. I
should point out somebody on the Discord is backing me up on Barbie Life in the Dream House. Toby,
I've actually heard that. I heard someone else comment that the Dream House is good. So yeah. I have heard the good things from it. So yeah.
All this time I've only been looking at the private chat. I'm like, man, comments is where the actions.
Yeah.
Actions at.
I have escaped. I'm now in a. Let's see here. Where am I? I'm in. Oh God, no! I'm in a shopping mall now. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, the Ludonarrative Discord is open to anybody. Yeah, any other questions? Season 3, I think, will be kickstarting in February or March, definitely by March at the latest. We just have to finalize your plans and everything. Yeah, you can back the Night Clerk zine on Backer Kit. Let me pull that up. I probably should have done that earlier.
I should see where I am on that.
Yeah. While Ross is doing that, you can buy our merch. There are links from the website. You can visit our website, ludonarrativedissidents.com.
And
I'll
pull that up.
Quick reminder that if you click on any of the RPGs in any of the episode descriptions, it'll take you to drive through. If you then buy it, we get a fraction of the purchase price. That does not increase the price you pay, and it does not reduce the amount of money that goes to the publishers. But it does help to support the podcast. And we are enormously grateful when you do it. Shall I tell them how much money we've made from referrers so far, from affiliate fees?
Sure.
How much money have we made, James?
$6.88.
Yeah. We can get
$2
a small coffee.
each.
Yeah, I'll get a third of a coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah. So it's we would be grateful if you do that. We live in hope, but not optimism.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, check out Ludonarrative Dissidents. Put a link into that .com. James has done great work on that website. It's very cool. We'll definitely be using it more. We're eventually planning, I think, also to mirror our season 1 and 2 onto YouTube. We got a couple other things in mind, but we're not.
Can I tell them about the plan with that?
Please do.
The Ross has explained to me that there is a way you can just randomly can set up sort of a library of pictures, and a program will randomly throw them on top of your audio to make a YouTube video of it. And so my suggestion was that each of the three of us present poses of ourselves in various typical emotional states. So I had one where it's just me in full no future conditional mode, and then one of me where I'm like,
there we go,
and then one where I'm like, so that's what I want to see. Is just these cartoonishly exaggerated postures from Ross and James, who apparently are not as comfortable unleashing.
No, James did his. I haven't done mine yet. I'm lazy.
I don't know if James's were big enough though.
They were fine, Greg.
Okay.
And the app I was using is called Headliner. Headliner.app is the website. And basically what you do is you create a video, a little MP4, and then it loops the video as it does the audio. So it's not going to be random. It's going to be the same order every time, but it'd be like a 2 or 3 minute slideshow that loops.
As long as there's no connection between what's being said and what our facial expressions
are.
No,
obviously not. It's like a 3-minute video that loops over every single episode. Kind of like my background video is looping. So
what is this? Various stages of undress? No, we're trying to get more viewers, not drive viewers away.
No, that's Greg's OnlyFans coming soon.
So it's stretch goals.
Yeah, there we go. Stretch goals. Yeah,
James,
we already have to do Rainbow D6.
We've already at least had one conversation about not writing checks my body cannot cash.
I'll have you know, when I was younger, I got second place in the fancy dress parade at UK Comic Art Convention as Prince Namor the Submariner.
Ooh.
Green speedos, elf ears, wings on the heels.
Do any photos of that survive, James?
I've got one somewhere.
Okay.
Just a thin.
Look, if you
coating
want to
of
find it, I'll
body
throw it in.
oil.
I'll throw it in the
Yeah.
thing. Or we'll
I
say
did
that
get,
for
I
some
got a
special.
girlfriend off the back of it.
Hey, not bad, not bad. An actual question. Oh my god, or an actual comment. Idly suggesting setting material to potentially investigate side settings to an established main game like D&D and Birthright, Eberron, right? That would be interesting. I would have to find like what other games do that though. Maybe I mean Palladium kind of, but like I mean Rifts has like Phase World, which is an alternate universe, and space things that don't take place on Earth, I guess would count. But I don't know if there's enough games that do that.
Someone's saying Savage Worlds.
Savage Worlds is like GURPS. It's a settingless game.
What was
It's
Ken's The Day After Ragnarok?
Oh yeah. That's a good setting. But like Savage Worlds is like GURPS. It's a generic system. It's not. There's no setting for Savage Worlds.
Except there are a bunch of settings.
Well, yeah, but like D&D has its own sort of generic setting, right? Forgotten Realms. But they have side settings, alternate settings for D&D, I think is what Scribbler's talking about.
Sigil.
Yeah, Sigil, Ravenloft, etc. GURPS is interesting setting books. I mean, like there's generic system with many settings, but D&D is kind of unique in that there's a main setting, but there's also alternate settings like Dark Sun and Ravenloft and that kind of thing. So like if you did Shadowrun, but like on a different planet or with an entirely different thing. So
well, I can't go and say, oh, we should just do all the Wild Talent settings that I did back then.
But Wild Talent's also a generic system. It's just superhero.
It is absolutely a generic system. It just, got filtered through Godlike and Ecollapse and Grimoire, and we just did a bunch of stuff.
Any place on the internet where you can hire DMs? There are I don't remember. There's one website, I can't remember what it's called, where it's kind of like Fiverr, but for like GM. But there's also the RPPR Patreon for only $10 a month. I run 1 to 2 games for patrons every month. So yeah, there are professional GMs that do charge for games.
Yeah, and just
I don't
the
remember
fact that is a thing astonishes me now. So
yeah. I mean, it makes perfect economic sense. It takes time to prep a game. It takes years of practice to be a good GM. If somebody has that skill, that's a marketable skill.
I'm just not
I know a
used to things
GM
making economic sense, James.
Yeah, well, it's a living. I'm not saying necessarily. Though I do hear there are GMs who charge really, very high amounts of money, multiple hundreds of dollars an hour. And if you can find the patrons for it, and people, and if you are that good,
that does look right. Start playing games. I think that's the one. Let me double check.
All right.
But I have a friend who's a professional or semi-professional DM, and he writes stuff for DM's Guild as well. And if you want to make RPGs your lifestyle and your employment, it's one of the sources towards earning a steady regular income while you're making landing your profile as a creator as well as a games master. And
I'm not saying it's bad.
Use it to playtest your stuff.
Yeah, I probably.
I mean, people charge at conventions like Gen Con and Origins. So it just kind of makes sense. Oh wait, I didn't put the thing on. There we go. There's the website. Obviously it's sort of Savage Worlds, Pathfinder, Grimm's Tale, Cypher System. Oh, that's D&D, Chronicles of Darkness. Oh, actually a pretty good mix, at least so far. When I looked at this months ago, this was heavily, I mean, it looks like it's still kind of dominated by D&D, but that's kind of...
I'm shocked, Ross.
Yes.
But no, it's changing.
It's like if you're going to do tech support for computers, do you do an operating system that was last updated in 1998, or do you do Windows?
Is there an No More Armies Discord? I have no idea. Greg?
No, I'm
not
sure
an official
somewhere,
one,
but there's not one I'm involved with. There's a Greg Stolze Discord through my Patreon, but it's pretty minimum and it's pretty small and chill. So yeah, you would not do badly on the LND Discord. So yeah, there it is. The Patreon. I just updated it today.
Yep. All right, cool. With that, check out our Patreons and other projects, Ludonarrative.com. Join the Discord. There was a link in the comments, and also on all our backer updates, and also on the show notes of all the episodes recently, at least. And we will probably do this again. This was pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, this was cool.
So
thanks for coming out, everybody.
Yeah, and I'll
thanks so much. The comments have been really vigorous and really interesting.
Yeah, next time I'll read those as they happen.
Well, it's a learning experience. All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you for listening. We're really glad you and enjoyed Ludonarrative Dissidents. We're excited to start season 3, which will start next year. And we'll record episode 0 sometime in the next month and a half. We'll figure it out. Anyways, good night, everyone. We'll talk to you later.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Ta-ta.
Bye.
The stream.